Hey there. Welcome to the latest edition of Inside Pima County with Supervisor Rex Scott. I am Rex Scott, and we are having our first remote broadcast. We are at the Pima Animal Care Center with their dedicated and wonderful director, Mr. Steve Kozachik. Steve, thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate the opportunity to share.
All right, absolutely. Hey, so tell us, to get things started, a little bit about you and your professional background and how you ended up being the director here.
Okay. Most recently, was on the Tucson City Council for 15 years. Simultaneously with much of that, worked in the U of A athletics department. Um, City Council provided me an opportunity to get involved in lots of animal welfare kinds of things. We were very responsible and involved in shutting down Tucson Greyhound Park. We adopted a ban on the administration of anabolic steroids in racing animals while I was on the council. Adopted a puppy mill ordinance that was later rescinded by the state legislature, but that's still something that is very near and dear that we want to get our arms around at some point when we can get it back in the mix. The challenges that we had on the council led me to, and also as the work I did at the U of A, led me to talk to Carmine DeBonis at the county about a project that the county is working on. That was the Mosaic Quarter.
Right.
I did a lot of capital project work for the U of A, and oversaw a lot of the project work in downtown core while on the council. Mosaic Quarter was a major project for the county, and while it was moving forward towards the lease, finalizing the lease agreements, I started talking to Carmine and to Jan Lesher about coming on with the county. Everybody has their shelf life in public office, and so I figured that this would be a good opportunity to kind of step aside from public service in that regard and move over to the county. So worked with Pima County for the first 8 or 9 months in the capacity of working the leases out with Carmine. You guys, the board, finally approved them. It is now a construction project, and so with that sort of on its own glide path, started speaking to Jan Lesher and at the time Francisco Garcia about transitioning out here to PACC. The director had resigned with the background that I had in animal welfare kinds of things, and I would say a relatively strong management background as well. They decided, let's give it a shot. I served as interim for a couple of months and have been the permanent director out here since February of 25.
Well, and I want to thank you for that work you did with Mosaic Quarter because little less than a month ago, I went out there for them to lay the last beam at the top of the Iceplex. Yeah. And that must give you a sense of satisfaction knowing that you helped us get to this point.
That is going to be a major boost economically for the region.
Unquestionably.
Keno has been out there sort of on no man's land for too long. Mosaic Quarter is going to be a great addition from an economic vitality standpoint. They're going to have hotels out there, retail. You mentioned the Iceplex. They'll have an arena. A lot of out of state tourist dollars coming in for youth and amateur sports events.
Well, and I have to make this reference since you and I met when I was the principal at Catalina High School, which was in your council ward, and you were also a proud Catalina Trojan, correct?
Still am, yeah.
Excellent.
Yep, from 1971.
All right. All right. I always used to introduce myself by saying, I'm Rex Scott. I am the principal of Catalina High School, the home of Trojan Pride since 1957.
All right. Yep. Still going strong. My daughter graduated from there. My wife graduated from there. So we're
wonderful.
Wearing that in our genes.
All right. All right. Well, so Steve, tell us a little bit about everything that happens out here at PACC.
A little bit about everything. Okay.
I like the way I framed that question. You can go anywhere with that.
Yeah. Let me give you the Reader's Digest version of what the various operating units that we have at PACC, and then we can drill down. When people think of Pima Animal Care Center, just intuitively think, let's go and adopt a dog or a cat. That's true. We do have an active adoptions function out here. That's a small part of what we do. We are the only open admission shelter in Pima County, which means that we have an intake center where people bring animals in that they have found as strays, that they've just are getting too much for them to handle in their homes. and they want to drop them off. And so we have an intake center. We have a clinic. The clinic we could talk about for a long time. We do 40 or 50 spay neuters a day. We do 10 to 15 surgeries a day from animals being brought in on emergency basis, hit by car or neglect situations. We have an animal protection service unit out here that has 18 enforcement officers, 2 sergeants, and a couple of investigators that are responsible for patrolling and enforcing animal welfare laws for all 9,200 square miles of Pima County. We have a call center, our dispatch center, and our pet support center, who are taking calls from all over the county all day long, from people who have all kinds of questions. How do I find low cost vet care? I'm leaving the region. Who can I leave my dog to or my cat to? I just saw a dog that was a stray in our neighborhood. What do I do about that? And so we have multiple operating units out here. There are about 125 full-time staff. We could not operate out here though, just on the strength of our staff. We also have about 1,300 volunteers. So those are the kind of the core of what we are. We are also though about to open up an Eastside Adoption Center.
Right.
That'll be more staff, and it'll
And
be.
that's been in the works for a while, hasn't
Oh
it?
yeah, this is something that I know County Administrator Lesher has had on her radar screen for going on a decade. One of the first things that I began doing when I showed up actually in December as interim out here was start sort of scoping around
Mm-hmm.
for potential properties. And so we will soon be. We're now under lease, and we can talk more about that. But we will soon be opening that on the east side, Broadway and Kolb area. And we have another facility that we just opened up this week, and it's called our Animal Restoration Kennel, the ARC.
Right.
Think Noah, lots of animals.
Yeah.
We have the ARC is explicitly earmarked for bringing in horde situations,
Mm-hmm.
animals in cruelty and neglect conditions. We know that there are 45 to 50 horde conditions out in the community right now because our kennels are overstuffed with existing animals. We have not had the ability to go out and impound animals from hordes. So the ARC will give us the opportunity to go out and start laying eyes on those
Right.
animals and bringing them in, getting them the care that they need and they deserve. So that's sort of a real rough overview of what PACC is. It's a whole lot more than simply adopting a dog or a cat.
So, with regard to the work of those various divisions, uh, where are there hiring challenges in terms of trying to get not just the right staff, but a staff that's willing to stay?
Great question. And I would say that each of the operating units brings its own unique challenges. In our adoptions area, for instance, we need people who either have or are really interested in learning animal handling skills.
Mm-hmm.
You can imagine that not all the animals that are brought into PACC from the public are socialized when they get here. We have large breed dogs, small breed dogs, and so we have an animal adoption staff that has to be trained in animal behavior, in training the animals themselves, in taking notes so we can put them into all the animals' backgrounds. When people are coming out to adopt it, it's good with kids. It's good with other animals. It's not good with kids. It needs lots of room to roam. All the behavior notes that we generate out here through the play groups that we operate. So our adoptions counselors are not just people sitting at the counter filling out adoption forms. It's people who have actively worked with the animals and become familiar with many of them, so that when they're talking to potential adopters or fosters, they can give the backgrounds and the behavior traits. So that's the adoptions piece. Our intake team is a little bit different. These are people who have to be savvy in dealing with the public, often in what can become heated situations. If people want to come out here and simply dump their dogs in our lobby and leave, A, that's a violation for abandonment, a statutory violation. But B, we want to work with those people to find a way to keep them in their homes or to have them help us rehome them. PACC was built with 233 front-facing kennels for dogs. That is kennels for dogs that are adoptable. If you figure that about half of those, the dogs that we get in, can be co-housed, That means that we have room for roughly 330 to 350 dogs at a time. When I showed up out here, we had 450. Near the end of the year, we were bumping 600.
Wow.
That is a risk to the safety of our staff and volunteers because the animals get amped up and they're difficult to handle.
Sure.
It's not fair to the animals to be having crammed in kennels 2 or 3 at a time. It presents health risks as well. Um, if we're so overstuffed, we don't have room for isolation. So if a sickness begins in one area of the shelter, it can spread very rapidly. So we don't want people to simply come out here and drop their animals off because we haven't got room for them. And it's the worst
Right.
place for an animal to be. So our admission staff, they have to be savvy in working with the public on what are the resources we can provide you to help you keep the animal in your home. Can we provide you with low-cost vet care, or can you keep it for a couple of weeks while we work on fosters? Oftentimes, people are just hell-bent on saying, "No, I'm leaving it here and I'm out the door," and those can become heated exchanges.
I bet.
So, a different skill set for the admissions team. In our clinic, these are people who have veterinary skills. We have vet techs who are trained and have schooling in vet tech work. We have 5 veterinarians on staff with veterinary science degrees. Much different kind of person that we're looking for when we're hiring over there. People with who are professionals in veterinary care. Uh, Animal Protection Service, another one of the operating units. These are people who are out enforcing the law. Again, highly different than veterinarians, highly different than the behavior people. These are people out in people's homes when they get reports of cruelty or neglect or hoarding situations. So they're going into people's homes and confronting people oftentimes in very volatile situations where we are writing citations, we are writing warrants through the courts, we are impounding animals that people want to retain in their homes and bringing them into the shelter. So again, these are law enforcement people that are in highly volatile situations. Again, much different skill set than the others I've described. And finally, the dispatch center and the pet support center. These are people who are on the phone or on computers responding to emails and phone calls from the public. And so it's kind of a call center, but it's a call center with a heart, so that we have people calling in who are in tough situations. I just witnessed a dog get hit by a car. What do I do? It's kind of the animal welfare analog to the 911 center, so that we're taking the emergent calls, often getting them transferred from 911 when it's an animal related thing. And so again, being able to understand the statutory responsibility of the callers, but also our statutory responsibility in responding to those calls. And so, when you ask the question of what are the challenges to hiring, it is different for every operation of the shelter. And I will tell you that retention is an issue. The salary level that we're offering out here is in many areas not competitive to some other retail or other operations people can get in the private sector. The people who work out here are not out here to get rich. They're out here because they care about the animals and they want to make sure that the animals that are either dropped off here or brought into our clinic for whatever reason get the best care that they can and get into forever homes as quickly as possible.
You're just describing the work of the people in the various departments within PACC. It is obviously a high need and also high stress profession that they're working in. You were kind enough to give us a tour of parts of the facility before we did this interview. And in just about every room, I saw a sign about the 4 agreements. Is that something that you've put up to help build culture and climate here at PACC?
Yeah, the preface to your question was exactly right. These are highly stressful jobs. Even the adoptions counselors, we have people come out here and they just have their mind set on a particular animal that they've seen on the website. I'm sorry, he or she was already adopted out. Can I share another animal with you? That's the only one I wanted. Our staff gets into confrontational situations. Another area where the stress level rises is because there are situations out here, even from our behavior group, where animals have to be put down. Euthanasia is a real thing. I've been sharing with our staff since I showed up. We are sitting on a three-legged stool that comprises our obligation to the public, the safety of the public, safety of our staff and volunteers, and the humane treatment of the animals. When we see animals that are simply not adoptable because they have a significant bite history or what have you, our obligation for the safety of the public is to put those animals down. That that drags on a lot of the volunteers and a lot
Right.
of the staff who have worked with these animals, and they've built up a rapport with them. That's a stressful stressor. I mentioned the stressful situations that can happen in the admissions where people come in and want to dump animals. Again, we've had to have people trespassed off the property because their behavior became so poor. So you're exactly right. The conditions that we have out here are often stressful. I will say this though, that from a prior life, I have some relationships with Tucson Police and the Sheriff's Department and Tucson Fire. They have a program called Struggle Well. It is intended for first responders to understand that when you're in a stressful situation, you're not in it alone, and don't try and internalize everything and take it on yourself. You got other people around you who you can lean into and help you with it and realize that they're dealing with stuff too. Um, I got the approval from TPD to include us in the Struggle Well classes because of the stressful environment that our staff is and volunteers are working under. And I will tell you that when we have in, brought our people into those Struggle Well classes, every single time we've come out of it, whether it's with TPD, the Sheriff's Department, Northwest Fire runs them as well. The people leading the class and the other people in the class have said, "Oh my God, I had no idea your people dealt with that." Walking into a home with a deceased human being and animals walking around, and all the cruelty, the neglect, the bestiality that our animal protection service people walk into. We're absolutely first responders. And so number one, they had no idea that this is what our team was dealing with. But they were also grateful for the opportunity our staff is grateful for the opportunity to be in those settings and realize that we're respected as the professionals that we are, and these Struggle Well classes have given our staff the ability to see that even though the stresses that you recognize are real things, they're not dealing with it individually or as just kind of a flying solo. They've got other people to lean into and other resources for the kind of psychological support that they need and deserve.
Tell us a little bit about the building, how it was designed, and how you've had to adapt to some of the population challenges that you talked about earlier.
Well, we have two very physical sides. One side has got adoptions and fosters. That's our outcomes side. That's the happy side, where the animals are leaving, going home. The other side has the clinic, our call center, and the Animal Protection Service, the APS unit. It's where I would say the more difficult and more stressful piece of the operation happens. When we have you asked about how we have had to adapt. When we are overstuffed at the gills on the adoption side and we have 450 dogs and 233 kennels, we oftentimes have to adapt by taking some of the kennels that are over in the clinic side and the APS animal protection side, and put animals over there. They're kind of out of the public view, but until we can rotate them back in
Right.
to the adoption kennels. Also, when illness happens, we have to have areas where we can isolate animals, or the illness will spread throughout the clinic. And so being able to have kennels over on I'll call it the intake side, available, uh, it's critically important that we have that so that when we have a parvo or distemper, or even just colds or filtering through the environment, we have to have a place to isolate some of the animals. That is really difficult when you're overstuffed, and it makes the intake side a challenge when we have animals in what should be post-surgery recovery suites as isolation. And so it's a bit of a mash unit at times, and because of that, we've been looking for other options in terms of shelter space or kennel space for some of the challenging situations that we see out in the public that we've heretofore had to ignore. And that's one of the reasons we opened up the ARC. And we really believe that the East Side Adoption Center is going to also help in relieving some of the kennel overcapacity that we have here.
Fantastic. And then you mentioned that you have a lot of volunteers out here. What are some ways that people can get involved at PACC or at some of the other facilities on a volunteer basis?
So we have an adoptions manager and adoptions coordinator out here who will bring people on to do anything. And our volunteers range from seniors who don't want to go out and walk large dogs because they're afraid of, just physically being pulled over to, so they're happy doing laundry, they're happy doing cleaning, they're happy being our greeters in our adoptions and, welcoming people when they come in and helping guide and direct them. We have people who are out here every morning and every night walking the dogs. We have to get the animals out of the kennels a couple times a day if possible. Again, a function of what the census is. When we have 500 dogs, we can't get them all out twice a day, but the volunteers are the key to that. We have volunteers over in the clinic helping the vet techs and mixing medications and holding animals while they're being medicated or sedated. We have volunteers who are helping the pet support and the admissions. Again, when the public comes in to help kind of guide them through the system. So there's not one singular thing that volunteers do out here. It's virtually anything that doesn't require a certification like a veterinarian that we can train you to do, and we need them all. We could not operate this facility without the volunteers that we have. When we open the East Side, we're calling it the East Side PACC Adoption Center. It is EPAC. It will be only adoptions. We will have 4 full-time staff out there. We know that a 7-day-a-week operation is going to have, again, a boatload of volunteers. And so we've already had people expressing an interest in serving out there at EPAC once we open that facility on a volunteer capacity. So again, that will be another opportunity out of Broadway and Kolb when we open that place. ARC, we have our behavior team over there. We have volunteers that work with the behavior team. We will have our APS unit over there doing the intake. We will have volunteers over there helping with the intake. Now, these are going to be select volunteers who we know aren't going to be going on social media and broadcasting everything that's in the ARC, primarily because in many of the situations over there, we will have active court cases going. These animals will be on bond. We've had to get warrants to get them impounded,
Right.
and so these aren't social media plays. These are somebody who's going to take the situation seriously and maintain a confidentiality until the animals are over here at PACC and they do become public facing and available for adoption.
I know the East Side Adoption Center has been in the works for many years. You mentioned that the county administrator has been talking about it for over a decade. Are there other areas of the county where you think a similar facility is necessary?
That's a great question. We did not just select Broadway and Kolb just as a random location. We know that roughly 60% of and I keep referencing dogs, but it's generically animals,
Sure.
of the animals that we adopt out come from Swan-ish West, Midtown West. We're at 4,000 North Silverbell. We realized that it's a 45-minute drive from PACC to get to Broadway and Kolb. If I live in Vale or Rita Ranch or out in Rocking K, it's an hour drive to get here one way. We know that if people are not inclined to spend 2 hours of their day in transit and spend another hour or so out here, you've just spent 4 or 5 hours to come and adopt an animal. There are too many other options between here and there. And so the selection of Broadway and Kolb was not happenstance. We looked at the data and we looked at, okay, where are the kind of adoption deserts in our world? And the East Side is one of them. Your question is, are there other areas? We have We will, it's kind of a step, walk, run process.
Ah,
We are stepping towards the east side.
okay.
Be walking into it hopefully in April-ish. And once we get it up and operating, see what the real costs are. See what the real staffing challenges are. What's the cadence between transporting animals from PACC out there and the whole care and feeding, the cleaning operation? What are some of the challenges within the county bureaucracy about the business end of it? So once we get our arms around all of that to see what really is involved in operating that small business out on the east side, we know that Northwest is another area. Oro Valley is a possibility. We know the Southwest side is another area where we could possibly expand later on. But we're kind of tiptoeing into this right now. It's a big lift.
Yeah, it
And
is.
we are in the hiring process. And once we get people, we've got a manager hired. We're looking at an assistant manager. We'll have 2 other staff. We want to bring them in here to PACC before we open up out there to get them trained in our processes and procedures and helping have them have a hand in writing the SOPs for the operation out there. We will have to do a very similar thing for any other operation we open up. We don't know what the real costs are going to be. Friends of PACC, our nonprofit partner, has put $1.3 million specifically towards EPAC. And so these are not county dollars at this point. That $1.3 million is to get us through the first 2 years. While we're working through those, the grand opening and all the operations challenges, getting our arms around what the real costs are, we'll look at what that 1.3 gets us, and then we'll lean back into Friends of PACC. What more can you do? We may be back to the Board of Supervisors saying, okay, now we've done this for a couple of years. Here's what it's costing us. And if you see the value in this as a Board of Supervisors and want us to continue doing this, here's what it's going to cost. And so we don't know those. You don't know what you don't know.
Sure.
But we are very grateful for Friends of PACC for stepping up and chipping in $1.3 million to get us started. And once we know that, then we can start looking for other areas once we know the actual costs.
I appreciate your response to that question because it's certainly prompting a lot of thoughts in my mind about what might remain to be done in terms of taking care of our animal care responsibilities around the county. But you made reference to the nonprofit partner to PACC, Friends of PACC, and the board is going to be recognizing them at our next meeting.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about Friends of PACC and their history and their rollout here.
Okay. Yeah. So Friends of PACC is our nonprofit 501c3 partner. They've got a couple of staff members out here at PACC who are FOP employees. What they are also doing, though, is they're also funding 11 positions out here at PACC.
Wow.
They fund some of our veterinary staff. They fund some of our vet tech staff. So they're actually picking up a significant chunk of the personnel costs for the operation out here. They provide a lot of money for the food that we have. You can imagine, food is a big expense for us out here. They pay for veterinary supplies. So Friends of PACC is a very significant partner, very necessary to the operation. At your next meeting, they're going to be celebrating their 10-year anniversary.
Yes, indeed.
Let's let the train go by here for a second. We do appreciate being out with the public.
Yes.
And sometimes they
have noisy conveyances.
Roll on by, and God bless them for bringing the cat that she is probably fostering back in from healthcare. So anyway, so back to Friends of PACC, 10-year anniversary.
Right.
And so they have been operating and supportive of the Pima County and Pima County Animal Care Center for a decade. And we're grateful for you all for writing the proclamation, and we'll recognize them next meeting.
We're proud to do it. Hey, Steve, my final question is similar to one that I used to ask during employment interviews when I was a principal. I had to hire a lot of people when I was a principal, and I almost always ended with this question: what's something about you that we didn't talk about that's important for us to know? So for you, what's something about PACC that we didn't talk about that you'd like our listeners to hear?
Well, we nibbled at it. We didn't talk about the ARC much.
Okay.
This is something that was on nobody's radar screen a year ago, other than our Animal Protection Service officers. The reason I say that is because our APS officers are the ones who are out in the public. They're getting the calls about reports of a horde condition. We know that there's a property with 100 plus huskies. We know that there's a property where animals are dying on the property. They're not getting care, veterinary care. They're being starved to death. They're being beaten. They're being pick your cruelty or neglect condition. Because of the overcrowded conditions at PACC, heretofore, we have been telling our APS officers, we can't have you go out and put eyes on that because as soon as you see it, we're statutorily obligated to bring those animals in. We don't have room. We don't have the veterinary capacity. We don't have the staff to take care of another 100 to 200. We know that based on the reports that we've gotten, there are roughly 1,000 animals out in the community right now that we haven't been able to address. So the public needs to know a couple things about the ARC. Number one, we have gotten private donations for all of it. The county has not anteed up a penny for this. This is people who hear the story and see the need and catch the vision. And say we've had one woman wrote a $60,000 check, another woman wrote a $50,000 check, another $50,000. So we have enough money in the bank right now, non-county dollars, to operate the ARC for a year and a half. We also know now that this is going to give our APS officers an opportunity to do their job. They're not doing that job over at APS because they expect to get rich. They're doing it because they want to be involved in animal welfare and getting animals the care that they deserve and that they need. When we have been telling them, ignore it because we haven't got room, it breaks their heart, breaks my heart. And so now we'll have an opportunity to deal with that. And so the public needs to know that that we're finally dealing with that. And if you are aware of a situation where animals are being treated cruelly, they're being neglected, and there is no definition of what's a horde. Is it 5? Is it 10? Is it 50? Is it 100 animals? There is no quantity involved. It is very simply where you are aware of animals that are not receiving the care that they need in the setting that they're living in. Let us know, and now we'll have an opportunity to deal with that.
Well, thank you for ending on that note, because the whole purpose of these podcasts is to help people be more aware of the work that's being done in various county departments and programs. And I think you gave us an outstanding overview of all the important work that's going on here at PACC and around the county.
Well, I appreciate it. I guess we ought to end on inviting people to come out and adopt or foster.
There we go.
All right.
All right. Steve Kozachik, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. All right. And thank all of you very much